Let's start with the main character, Sabine.
The main character. Yes, in the great tradition, the great modern Disney Lucasfilm tradition, the main character of your show is not the titular character.
She betrayed the galaxy, but
Mhm.
received absolution from her personal trainer, Ahsoka.
Correct.
She tried to use the Force, so as anticipated, in the end, her Force abilities maxed at 11.
Well, yeah.
S- Selfish, irresponsible, snarky, in a word, unlikable. Say a few words about Sabine.
Sabine looks like a Harley Quinn that you got from Wish. Powdery face paint and the pink hair and all the attitude and no responsibility. Not true to her character from Rebels. Didn't I mean she's like a lot of these characters didn't show progression, she showed regression. The way that her character arc is dumb. It ends with a contrivance and a cop out. So they set her up and they say, okay, Ahsoka trained her, and then there was this falling out between them, and then it's like they try and play it up like Ahsoka knew that Sabine was going to be a danger to the universe. Stay with her. Don't leave her. You two work better together. I liked you better when you were a couple. And then she goes off and does her own thing, betrays the galaxy, lies to everybody about it, doesn't tell Ezra anything. And then at the end, they're standing there with Ahsoka, and she's like, "Your gamble paid off." Really? That's it? Y'all knew this was going to work out? Is it everybody in the galaxy clairvoyant now? Because Thrawn's all like, "I knew this would happen." Everybody knows. Everybody knows how it's all going to turn out. So her character is really lame. As soon as she showed up and they called her Padawan, it was like, okay, at the key moment in this series, in a meaningful, powerful way that will save the day, and it's like we were just waiting for it. And it was terrible. I'm going to force push Ezra onto the ship, 200 yards up in the air into a spaceship that's flying away. No, sorry.
Yes, she's responsible for the 2 deaths, the X-Wing pilots over Cetos, and every life lost to Thrawn. And as viewers, we're supposed to accept that absolution, that forgiveness, and move on. There's no amount of spin, and it's the show's responsibility. Based on what it wanted us to see, it hasn't justified forgiveness for Sabine.
Well, yeah, it all
Like,
turned out, right?
yeah, but of course it didn't. They're stuck on Peredia. They're separated from Ezra again, and Thrawn has returned to the known galaxy. That to me, when Ahsoka said, "Right where we need to be," I laughed. We're only judging you on what you've given us. If I follow my heart,
Hmm.
but I put other people at risk, and they suffer and they die, as long as I followed my heart, it's okay.
Well, yeah, love is love, Jeff. She did it because. Oh, so let's just throw this out there.
Mhm.
She did it because she misses Ezra. Why does she miss Ezra so much? Why is Ezra this driving thing in her life?
Great question.
Right? We don't know why.
Facts not in evidence from Rebels.
They were a tight team. They
Mhm,
fought together. They
mhm,
worked really well together. Ezra was kind of this leader. He was growing into this leader, and the speeches that he gave and the inspiration that he provided to others outside of their cell to rise up against the Empire.
mhm.
But there was other than, and this is one of the things that I loved about Rebels was you take a disparate group of individuals and you put them in a situation and you put them on a team to work together, and over time, as they learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and as they learn to trust one another, they become this family unit, right? You have a bunch of broken people who come from a bunch of broken places who have all kinds of trauma. And yeah, we can joke about it being Disney and how there's no real families and how Star Wars there's no real families or whatever. But these people came together and they formed a family, right? They worked really well together. They achieved great things. They overcame great odds. So now that the war is over, the Empire is defeated. Palpatine is temporarily out of the picture. We've restored some kind of order, we think, in the galaxy, or some normalcy in the galaxy. Uh, so we have the New Republic and whatever. And she has some kind of role in the New Republic. We're not really clear, but she doesn't like it because she's always shirking her duties, as we saw in the first couple episodes. Um, but there's no explanation as to why she's pining for Ezra, other than what she misses the old days of fighting and combat and killing stormtroopers. Like, because there's no romantic thing, right? We'll never have romance in Star Wars except in Andor, and that wasn't romance, that was a drunk one nighter, but whatever. um when they meet up in this show, it's awkward, but it clearly, like, we have to immediately establish it's a friend zone scenario. It makes her even a worse person when you look at it this way. She has all of her friends from the war: Hera, Ahsoka, Zeb, Chopper, right? Hera has a kid. Maybe she could be Auntie Sabine, right? But instead, she's so bent over the loss of one person from their team that she's willing to sacrifice the entire galaxy and everybody else remaining from that team just so she can see that person one more time. And then when she sees him, she's like, "That's it? What is your motivation?" If you made it like a tortured love thing, that would make way more sense, right?
It would, but Ezra
You
was
know?
clearly in the friend zone.
Well, yeah. So that's my point. Like, that this makes her just she's just willing to just throw it all away so she can have one more adventure.
Well, I might be able to answer your question if the actress could make more than one facial expression.
We had a conversation. You bring up a good point. We had a conversation in one of our previous podcasts, and you should probably go back and listen to all of them, audience, please. The conversation was about whose responsibility is it for these bad performances. And we've talked about bad performances in the sequel trilogy, other Star Wars shows like Kenobi. I've said it's the director's fault for the most part because they're the manager, right? They're a manager on duty when it comes to this stuff. They have all of these people around them running the cameras and everything. They have the actors and they have the costume department, whatever, and they all come together. And the director ultimately says at the end of the shoot, we have the version that I want for the final product. Okay. But these shows, they have like 7 different directors, and we still get the same crappy performances out of these actors. I've watched enough Inside the Actor Studio and other interviews, behind the scenes things or whatever, where people say, "Oh, I love working with this director. Like, he brought out the best in me, or she brought out the best in me, and I gave this master performance, and I owe my Oscar to this director," whatever. Right? Sometimes they say that, but these actors and actresses gave the same crappy performances over 8 episodes with 7 or 6 different directors. I forget how many directors are employed in this series. I'm starting to wonder, is it the actors? These shows are on tighter shooting schedules, tighter budgets. The directors can't be like, "Yeah, we'll come back tomorrow and try it again," right? Or, "Well, we'll shoot it all, but tomorrow I want to shoot it again at a different time of day so I get the golden hour or whatever," right? Can't do that stuff. You know, these things are on a smaller scale. And so the actors just like mail it in, mail it in, mail it in. And eventually the director's like, "Well, shit, I got to move on, right? I got to go on to the next scene. I got to go to the next whatever, right? Like, we're behind schedule." And so they just do the best with what they've got at that point. I don't know. I'm trying to, maybe blame just goes all the way around, but one director, one film being bad, I could probably blame the director, but an entire series with 7 directors and all the performances being bad, I'm kind of starting to push it on these actors now. And she's not the only one. It's the same. Like you could copy and paste any scene with any of these characters into any episode and any other scene, and you probably wouldn't have noticed because they're all striking the same pose, right? They all look like they're constipated or they're being introspective or whatever, and they deliver all their lines the same way. I give up.
Galactic Initiative is not authorized or endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited. The name Star Wars and all related materials are registered trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, but rights reserved. Galactic Initiative is a registered trademark, and other product and company names are trademarks of their respective holders. Use does not imply affiliation or endorsement.